Okay, Mr. King.
Mr. King and his new bride Jessica. This
How you
poor
doing,
guy.
Jessica?
How old are you?
31.
31-year-old who had a amputation secondary to diabetes about a year ago. The thing was, he was engaged to his wife, and then he ran into this problem, got an infection on his toe, and next thing you know, headed to an amputation. And she stayed with him anyway, and they got married. But what he promised her that he would walk down the aisle on their wedding day. So together they fashioned the prosthesis, and it allowed him to walk. He's one of these guys that's in a situation where he doesn't have access to health insurance these days. Take a look down inside the socket. Right. What he did was take a couple of crutches and contour it to actually create a frame-type socket and wrapped it with duct tape to get some contact.
I got those bands.
Oh yeah,
those
two clamps. Yeah, pipe bands. Yeah.
Put those on, and I had some towel out on it. Screw it together. 2 screws.
Yep. He screwed it to a shoe stretcher to create a prosthetic foot. They were able to put a shoe on it. I bet you were able to dress up. Nobody could even see. Right? By the time you put your pants on and everything, nobody even knew he was an amputee.
Feel it good? Comfortable?
Actually, you see where.
No, that's good.
No, you see where the
right, where the bars hit. Sure, you got pressure.
With
Sure.
that part
right
there,
of
like
course.
on that side.
Right, because you can't really mold it. And now, when we can make your prosthesis today, we're gonna take an impression of your body, so you got total contact. You're gonna love the way it feels compared to that. But it worked. I mean, it'll get you down the aisle. I mean, it's not the kind of thing you use every day because you're gonna kill yourself if you do. But it did its job, you know. Necessity is the mother of invention. There's the line, and that's what you can do. He did the right thing, you know, and also he proved to himself that it's not the end of the world. Now you know what it feels like to walk on these things. No big deal. If the amputation is below the knee, over 98% of the patients are successful with the prosthesis every day after the therapy is complete and their complete rehab is over with. So, 1 to 2% fail. And the only reason why that 1 to 2% fail is because that's a small group that can't even tolerate the normal forces inside a prosthesis. I'll give you your arm, I'll show you what the normal force is. Does that hurt? No. But you feel pressure. Some people can't even take that. So what we do is we take an impression of your residual limb, okay, with a plaster wrap, okay, and that impression is what gives us the model to make the socket, to make the prosthesis. But that model, if I was to take that model and just make a leg over that model, believe it or not, it'd be way too loose because the model is going to fit on you like this. So we have to kind of fit like this to make it work. Plus, you being your age and your activity level, your estimated activity level, you're going to run on this thing. And the more active you are, the more you're going to shrink. The shrinkage is directly related to your activity level. You could wear a leg all day long, but you're not going to shrink. But if you're on it and walking, that's when you shrink down. You probably noticed it even in the one that you made. It's okay in the beginning, but after a while it starts to nag you when you put more weight on it, because you're actually shrinking and you're starting to sink in deep and you hit the bottom. All right? So, knowing that you're going to shrink, the way we're going to build this prosthesis is to kind of forecast the shrinkage. You got a prosthesis there? Give me one with an insert. Thank you. We're going to forecast the shrinkage. So what we do is, from experience over the years doing this stuff, we kind of estimate how much we think what you're going to look like 3 months down the road. So I'm going to take this cast, and then I'm going to reduce that cast equivalent to about what I think you're going to look like in 3 months after you've been walking on this leg. All right, we're going to reduce it down to that size. Of course, that's way too small for you to wear now. So how do you get around it? Then we make an insert that fits inside the leg. The insert is equivalent to a combination of socks that's about this much. So when you first start this leg, you're going to walk on the hard socket without the insert in it. And as you shrink, you're going to add, this is the insert, see? As you shrink down, you're going to keep adding socks and adding socks and adding socks. When you get to the point where you have a big load of socks and they're becoming a pain in the neck because they're binding in the back and they get too bunchy, then you take the socks off and replace it with this part here. And that insert is what's going to give you life out of the prosthesis, because these things are too expensive to replace every 3 weeks, especially since you're a new amputee. The body, I know you don't wear false teeth yet, but anybody who wears dentures will tell you that when they first get that part that fits in the gum, it feels like it was made for someone else. But eventually the gum actually takes the shape of the device that's pressing on it, the denture. and they become more comfortable as time goes on because the gum actually molds around the denture, and that's when the comfort increases. The same thing happens here. If I was to make this model in a shape that's awkward, sooner or later your stump would actually look like that shape. So knowing that, we could do a lot of manipulation with it. The insert also gives you the ability to modify the fit. So if I put a little pad in here, someplace on the insert, once that insert goes into the socket, it puts an increased pressure area on it. So if you're getting too much pressure over the front of the bone, you can put pads on the side, which makes a relief for the front. That's what this thing is really valuable for later on, because you can still modify it. You can't go inside that socket and glue pads onto it to change. The other part of this insert is, you know, you don't want, the idea is to have pressure down here, but not weight bearing. You want contact, but not weight bearing on the bottom, because you've got nothing but cut bones down there. So what you're going to do, that insert, that white thing in the bottom is what we call a distal end pad. It's a pad that fits in the bottom, and that's 1 inch thick. So if you're out running around and you're not managing yourself properly with the socks, you start to sink in a little deep, you hit a soft. Now we're going to talk about the suspension. The suspension is the part of the prosthesis that holds it on. Of course, you got two things working for you and against you. When you step on it, you have compressive force going into it because you're stepping into it. And then when you carry it to the next step, there's a destructive force because of gravity and momentum. It wants to pull away from you. So what you do at that point, when you go into swing phase, as you carry that leg into the next step, you know you got to hold it on somehow. This is a gel liner with some of the new technology. It's been tried and true, very successful. There's a pin that screws into the bottom of this thing that's serrated, and it goes into a lock inside the socket. So today we're going to roll on this liner and take the impression over the liner so that I have an image of what you look like inside the liner. Also, another nice thing about these is these liners come in 3 different thicknesses. This is the 3mm, the thinnest. Okay? So if you shrink down a lot, I can put you in a thicker one. So instead of wearing all the socks, you just wear a thicker liner. So I make these 3, 6, and 9mm. 9mm is kind of like a truck tire. But it gives you options so that you don't have to replace the leg.
Right.
Alright, so to put this on, you turn it inside out, take the shrinker off. What I need you is in the position that you're going to be in walking. When we sit, we tend to roll out with the hips. So that's what I want you to do. Now the liner, okay, see how the liner is? It's printed on the inside and the out. Because you want to roll this on the same way every day. You don't want to rotate it. So when you put it on, the way to do this when you start getting dressed as an amputee is you peel this all the way back. You don't want to cup this thing and trap air. Because if you trap a pocket of air, that becomes like an oven. And you'll sweat like crazy inside that little spot. The reason why you actually sweat less with this is because you're trapping the perspiration against the body and not allowing it to evaporate. Once you trap it against the body senses the moisture content and stops sweating. That's how our bodies work. We actually control our temperature with perspiration. You know, that's why when you get hot, you sweat. So peel it all the way back. I'll go over this with you tomorrow when you get your prosthesis, but you just position this where the ankle's going to be, and the pin will be on it at that point. I just don't want it on now. Now, what do we do since he's active? Where do I want to place this? In the back or in the front?
Look at in the front.
That's the pin. I want the pin a little bit more anterior. Why? The resistance, because this EndoFlex. Okay?
Oh.
When you place the pylon more anterior, it's going to give them more resistance on the toe, so they don't get more performance out of the foot. If I place the pin back there, he's already over the toe now, he's not going to get any propulsion out of that foot. What I'm looking at is at your alignment, because the prosthetic foot has been placed in a place where it's going to work for you. And you saw on the one you made. If you put the foot out left field, you couldn't walk on it. So the idea is through the knee, and that should give you where this pin is. I think that pin should go over a little bit. See what I mean? So we're going to put it on again and move the pin over a little bit this way. Alright. Good. Now, next step. This is just a bag to protect the lining in here from plaster. I need you to grab this on the sides like this and just pull up a little bit. Yeah, you see, you would have left me a little more sock. We would have been nicer, you know. Give me a little, that's it. See, because I want this leg in line with the direction that you're walking. When we sit in the chair, we always tend to roll out like this. So I need to look at it like you're walking. That's what you want.